Arjun, welcome to Below the Belt podcast. How you doing?
All good, man. Thanks for having me on. Should be an interesting one.
No problem. So everyone knows you as the kind of South Asian body transformation specialist up and down the UK. But tell me a little bit about your journey into fitness, how that started. Because we had a little chat off camera, right? And it was a bit of an interesting story.
Yeah. So I've always been quite a sporty guy. So I used to play football growing up, decent level. But when I got into like the kind of more weightlifting and kind of improving my body.
And what age was that you started the weightlifting?
So weightlifting, I started properly when I was about 19.
Yeah.
But prior to that, when I was in year 7, end of year 7, I remember I used to fancy this Gordy.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, and then I remember
there's always something like that that starts it, right?
So the last day of school, like when you're breaking up for summer, I remember I asked her out. I thought, like, we need my girlfriend. I can't remember exactly what I said. And then she said, I only date boys with 6-packs.
Ah, okay.
So that summer, I literally every day I was thinking, how do you get 6-pack?
Yeah.
Sit-ups, press-ups, sit-ups. So I would do literally 20 press-ups, 20 sit-ups, take a rest, and I'll do 5 rounds. So I'll do 100 every day. And by the time I got into like year 10, I was like ripped. But by this time, I didn't even fancy her anymore.
Yeah.
And
Leveling up, mate.
Yeah. And then, but then I just carried it on, and it helped me with my sports as well, with football. And then, but then I started to get into weight training when I was about 19. Like before that, I was messing around with weights.
Was that to supplement the sports, or just because you wanted to put on a bit of size?
Just literally to put on a bit of size. And at home, I've always trained at home, so I've never really trained in a commercial gym. Yeah, I've been to gyms and stuff, but my home setup, I've just done everything at home. I bought equipment over time, and then that kind of led me. Actually, I actually never thought I was going to be a personal trainer. So the plan was never to do that. I was just.
What was the plan?
The plan was to do. I went to university to do management with accounting.
It's interesting because I think in our culture, it's the route we get pushed down quite a lot,
uni,
right? Yeah.
Get the picture.
Yeah. Exactly, mate. Yeah.
But then, yes, I went to university. I done management with accounting. Also met my wife at university. So I literally got married at a really young age. So as soon as I graduated, I got married that same year.
How old were you?
I was 23.
Okay,
yeah. So I was 23 when I got married.
You know.
Yeah. But even that was quite a funny one because the reason why we got married quicker. Yeah. I thought I was going to marry about 26, 27.
Yeah.
But as soon as my wife graduated, she's a year older than me.
Okay.
Her dad was on it. He was like, listen, you need to get married. And then, they were like saying to her, meet this guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Obviously she's dating me. They don't know, right? They don't know. So I was like,
tell you have to lock that down, right?
I was like, tell your dad about me. Yeah. But tell him, I've still got a year left of uni. I don't have a job. Yeah. All of this kind of stuff.
That's fair play. You want to make sure you're in the right place as well.
Yeah, exactly. So then I met them, and then literally as soon as I met them, it was kind of like a few weeks later, they met my parents. Yeah. A few weeks later, they announced that we're going to get engaged.
Escalated quite quickly.
And then before I knew it, I was married.
No way out. But
it's all good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So with the whole kind of coaching journey and whatnot, what is it that attracted you to that? And obviously, I know you do focus more specifically on South Asians, right, and people in that community. And I think from what I saw of you on social media is you have that really good kind of relatability factor, right? And is that the angle you try and come at from your personal training?
Yeah. So when I did my personal training, so I did online coaching a bit later. So the first few years it was just personal training. People, and I had my own studio set up. So that was more so like it was just local people. I live in Slough, so it could be anyone. But most Indians tend to kind of, because I'm an Indian trainer, they'll go with me rather than someone else, right? So that was just the way it was. But when I got into online coaching, it was more right. There's so many online coaches out there. How do you kind of pick your market? Because I think it's very important to
100%.
do that, to kind of stand out from the rest. And then I went on a couple of mentorships as well that taught me how to choose my market, align it with things that I'm aligned with as well, so I can really relate to people. So
it makes you real and authentic, right? Rather than just, I think people can spot someone from a mile off, but with you, like, listen, I like a little drink, I like a little mixie, I like a little mixed grill.
Exactly.
And I think people are, do you know what? It's just, I think for an average guy, you're very easy to relate to, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then it was just a case of, I was like, right, you know, what are the things I like? Because I like to do all these things.
Yeah.
I like to have a few drinks. I like to chill out with my friends, go to the pub, watch the football. But also, like, I've got a family and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of put my kind of content around those areas. It's like, how do I balance these things and still able to, you know, get good results in the gym and stay lean and stay fit? I think that's where a lot of up and air really struggle. Is I remember we spoke earlier, so like being quite extreme with things. So if they're gonna drink, they're gonna drink the whole bottle. Right? They can't have one or two.
Why do you think that is in our culture? That I'll be honest. I went to a bit of university, and even after university, and probably sometimes not that long ago, if I was gonna drink, I'd hit the sash hard. And, and sometimes it's the same for people with their diet, that if they're gonna eat crap food, they'll eat a lot of it. What do you think that's a problem in our culture, or?
Yeah, I think.
And why?
Well, if you think like traditionally, like if you look at like kind of the more typical Indian uncles, they love to have a glassy session. But I think that's kind of like, we grew up kind of watching that. I think that's normal behavior. And then I do think as well, people just, I think people are not that happy.
Is
they
that
want
what
to
it is?
escape.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Like what you said, I think one, it's been normalised.
Yeah.
Two, maybe a bit of escapism, right?
Yeah, for sure. I see that a lot, especially as I've gotten older. When I was younger, I never really used to. I just think everyone's just having a good time, right? Everyone's having fun, and the more you drink, the kind of more wild stuff happens, right? But now I'm older, I do think that people get smashed because they are escaping stuff, and they're not happy with where they are right now, and it's like they don't want to face their real life, so they think, right, let me just get smashed, and then I'll deal with it later. But then it kind of spirals, man. It really spirals.
And I think sometimes you probably, like, if I'm self-reflecting and looking at myself, I think in the moment I would never have thought I was doing that in a million years, but probably at some level it was a form of escapism, right? But I think you're right. It's been massively normalized, I think, in our community. But at the same time, I think it shouldn't be demonized either, but it's a case of moderation, which is a big thing that you promote, right? Like, if you're going to do something, know there's a consequence. So obviously you're quite big on kind of calorie tracking and things like that, right? So from your perspective, whether it be in the Sikh community, in the South Asian community, what do you think what some of the biggest problems are when it comes to health and fitness that you see quite commonly amongst some of your clients?
So I think big problems are people just don't really understand what they need to do. There's so much information, especially nowadays with social media, Instagram. You'll have one guy saying, you know, only eat, like become vegan, right? There was that Netflix documentary Game Changers that came out a few years ago, and everyone after that,
I saw that.
that everyone was like, I need to become vegan.
Can I be honest? I watched that, and I was one of the, because I'm not an expert when it comes to other people's health and fitness. Like, I myself have been training since I was 6, and I feel like for myself, I know what works. And during lockdown, it was during lockdown, right?
Yeah, I think it was around then.
I saw it, and I was like, all right, do you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And I did it for, I think it was probably about 2 months. I was eating shitloads of dal, lentils, paneer, soy, whatever you want to
get that protein up.
Just trying to get that protein up. But I wasn't gaining the same muscle mass as if I was on a meat diet. And a lot of the time, even somebody like me who thinks I know a fair bit about health and fitness, I see so much contradictory information out there, and it's really confusing, right? So how do you deal with that, and how do you expect other people to deal with that, do you think?
So it's funny because, like, what you'll get though, like you said, the contradictions is if you get like vegan, right? Then now it's all about people saying carnivore, only eat meat, right? This is the best way to do it, like. And the way I like to view things, I'm like, the reason why things work, that there's truth in a few of these things, but you need to understand there's certain fundamentals we need to follow. If you follow those fundamentals, you can choose vegan, you can choose carnivore, you can choose, you know, paleo diet or a keto diet or intermittent fasting. You can do, every diet works, right? But it needs to follow some key principles. So I focus on those key principles, and then I tailor it to the individual.
Okay.
So I'm like, look, I know what works. So for example, fat loss, most of my clients, so my program is called Get Rid of the Did. It's literally like, get rid of the did, right? Get rid of it. Lose body fat, lose belly fat. But to do that, number one rule, calorie deficit, right? No matter what diet you follow, if it puts you in a calorie deficit, it will work. If it doesn't put you in a deficit, it won't work.
Okay.
So that's so the
Whether
first
they're
thing.
vegan or carnivore, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I've got clients that are vegetarian. Like one of my best client transformations is a guy called Sukhdarshan. Amritari Singh, right? We used to eat roti, dal, sabji. In his plan, we would have a paneer wrap takeaway. He'd have with the family, chocolates also.
Yeah.
I could fit that all into his plan, and he got really good results. Like check it on my website, he smashed it, right?
Yeah.
And he over 20 weeks, he
I
dropped
think I did
16,
see this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like one of my poster boys.
It's an amazing transformation.
Yeah, and that was done through a vegetarian diet. And lots of people will say to you, "Oh, you can't build muscle on a vegetarian diet," or don't do a veg diet. You need to be.
Is it harder though? Would you say?
I think it's harder in terms of you've got less food choices.
Yeah.
That's where it's harder. But if you know where to look and where to get your protein from, you can still hit your protein target. And that's the main thing.
Let's say then, for example, and I honestly don't know what the answer to this is. Let's say if you had like lentils and paneer, if you had the same amount of gram protein from that, and let's say you had chicken or beef or whatever, can you get the same results?
So there is a slight difference. So animal protein is a little bit superior.
Yeah.
Because there's something called the protein bioavailability.
Yeah.
So basically, how much can you absorb from that protein source? How much can your body absorb? Now, your meats are generally higher. The highest on the scale is whey protein, right? So whey protein is like number one. Number two is actually eggs, right? So they've got the protein you get from egg, your body can absorb quite a lot of it. And as you go down the list, it's like the meats are higher than the veggie options. So that's where it's a little bit tricky. And also the amino acid profiles. So there's 20 amino acids, 9 are essential aminos. So the essential aminos mean that our body cannot make those. We need to get those from our diet.
Okay.
Right, so there's 9 of them.
Yeah.
Now, animal protein has all the essential amino acids. Veggie protein doesn't.
Okay.
Right, they'll have some, but what you need to do as a vegetarian is you need to have a combination of different veggie proteins to make up the full profile. So if you can, if it's well thought out and planned out, you can make pretty much as much gains on a veggie diet as a meat diet, but you need to kind of understand all of this stuff.
Yeah. It's. I think there's a lot more context that needs to be applied. So I think sometimes even myself, I'll ask the surface level question, but it's not as black and white as that, right? Like you said, there's a lot of context that needs to be applied to it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, what would you say about protein shakes as well? Because some of the things that I started to hear is obviously you've got people like Eddie Abbey who said like protein shakes are shit. Like I'll be honest, I still have protein shakes, and he may be right. Try and get your protein from Whole Foods and whatnot, but are protein shakes that bad for you or
no? So they're fine. So on that bioavailability score, whey protein ranks the highest. Yeah. So our bodies can really use that protein, and it's something I have every day.
Yeah, because it was a study that, well, I don't know if it was a study that he did or he just said it flippantly. He said if you compare whey protein and eggs, you can get more protein. The amount of protein you absorb from eggs is higher than what you'd absorb from whey.
That's misinformation.
Is it?
So you can even like just Google it, like protein bioavailability chart.
Yeah.
Whey protein is higher than eggs.
Okay.
So we can absorb more protein from whey protein than eggs.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, from my own experience, I feel that to be true.
Yeah.
From my own experience, obviously I know like eggs is a good source of protein, but I feel like I get a good source of protein from my shakes as well, right? I feel like sometimes now, even lately, people have got a bit cautious about whether they should be having protein shakes or not, but it's still an okay thing to
100%
to consume, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, getting to your protein target can be quite difficult. So the way we calculate your protein target is take your body weight in kilograms, multiply that by 1.6, and that's your minimum protein target. Yeah, especially if you're like resistance training. Right, so imagine for easy maths, 100 kg guy, multiply 1.6. He needs 160 grams of protein minimum. Yeah. I like to actually stick closer to 2 grams per kilogram. So if I weigh 80, I'm aiming for 160 grams protein per day.
Okay.
Now, to get 160 grams of protein just from food alone, it's very tricky. It can be done. Yeah, but getting it through just like breakfast, lunch, dinner,
That's
say
what
3
I
meals.
found. Yeah, it is hard, right?
Very hard. So that's where the protein shakes are really helpful, because you can do 2 scoops in a smoothie. You know, I put in blueberries, strawberries, banana, oats, blend that all up. I'm getting 60 grams of protein in my breakfast, and now I've got 100 grams left. over, you know, 2 or 3 more meals.
Yeah.
So I think protein shakes are completely fine. Many of my clients use them. Most of them do. Some, I get the odd clients that kind of say, no, I don't want to have it. It's chemicals and this and that. And these clients are a little bit trickier to deal with.
Is this the older generation?
Yeah. And these are the guys that are listening to the Eddie videos. I've got so many guys that send me stuff. Yeah. And I listen. Yeah. Just trust me. You've seen the amount of people I've helped. Right?
Sometimes, if someone's paying for your services, they have to trust you, right? Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, going back to it, protein powders, they are fine. Whey protein is probably the most common. And then you also get a whey isolate. So what a whey isolate is, you got your normal whey. Some people are lactose intolerant or cannot handle the protein as well for their stomachs, right? Digestion-wise. So that's where a whey isolate would be better. It's slightly more refined, slightly more expensive. But someone that can't really handle whey protein well, try a whey isolate instead.
Okay. And there was one thing I actually just thought of this on the way here in the car. So something that I've started doing with my diet is obviously fasting in the morning, and then my first meal, say about 12, 1 o'clock, I'll have, say for example, eggs, so like 4 or 5 eggs, avocado, maybe a bit of bacon or something, and just no carbs. And what I started to notice was, one, I felt sharper through the morning and into the afternoon. Like I didn't have that midday slump that I usually have. I had a lot more energy, mentally sharp when I'm sitting behind a desk, and I still feel like I've got energy like when I'm going to the gym. But growing up, I always saw carbs as being related to getting energy. But now I've cut carbs, I feel like I've got more energy. And what's your thoughts on that, and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, for example?
Cool. So we're gonna go like into the low carb keto type diet.
Because for me, it's just a case of I like trying stuff to see the effect it has on my body. But I think the science, I think that's where I'm gonna hand over to you as to why I might be feeling these things.
So when you go into ketosis or keto, so your carbs are really low. Generally, when we have carbs, our body will first use the carbohydrate energy up. It's stored as glucose and glycogen, right? So if you're doing exercise, your body will kind of use those carbs up first. We actually perform better on carbs. So you won't really get many top level athletes that are keto, right? So the carbs get used up first. And then but once the carbs run out, then our body switches to use that body fat for fuel. It's got no more carbs left in the system. I'm still training. I still need energy. Where can I get it from? You get it from your body fat. Now, fasting as well is kind of a similar thing, where because you're not eating any food, you've got no glycogen in your system, and then your body will switch to burning body fat first. Now, from an energy perspective, I think it's highly individual. But a lot of people that do fasting, they do report high alertness. And I don't have my first meal till around 11 a.m. 10:30, 11. I'll have my first one. Before that, I have a coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, just coffee and then
But when they've actually done... Okay, now I'm just going to kind of off track slightly. Just go to fat loss with a fasting diet or a keto diet. Now, we know from studies that are done, and there's a meta-analysis that was done in 2017. So what a meta-analysis is, it's a study of studies. So there's a bunch of studies on fasting and keto, and they basically see what the results are and they come to like conclusions. But to be part of the studies, there needs to be some inclusion criteria. So there need to be a certain standard to be considered serious. And these studies, they were 32 and they were controlled feeding. So the people participants, they were actually given food. Lot of studies, it's like they let the people crack on. But then it's like you can't control it that well. But basically what they found was, from a fat loss perspective, there was no significant difference between a higher carb diet, right, or a higher fat diet. Right, as long as though the calories and the protein are matched. Yeah. So when I was going back to the kind of what are the fundamentals that we need to follow, it's like calories is one, protein's another. And I always say to my clients, look, don't worry too much about the intricacies of things, right?
Just follow
the basic principles. Get your calories right, get your protein right, and from a fat loss perspective, you're going to get a very similar result whether you do fasting or not fasting.
Yeah, I think if I'm honest, if I take everything else into account as well, it probably did lead to me reducing my calories. But one thing that I wouldn't do is cut carbs out completely.
Hmm.
Like, say, if my usual training time is about 5, 6 o'clock
Yeah.
in the afternoon, evening, I'd definitely have carbs afterwards. I wouldn't even hold back on the carbs either, because a lot of people say you shouldn't have too much carbs before bed. Is there any truth behind that? Or
No, so even that as well. So it's like there's a funny. I'm actually gonna.
I'm glad I'm getting this all cleared up because it's questions that I've had and people have
Yeah,
come to
yeah,
me and I'm not quite sure how to explain it.
yeah. So there's a bit of a myth about carbs, eating carbs late,
Yeah,
and you're gonna put on body fat.
yeah, yeah.
The kind of theory behind it is if I was to eat say roti, at like 9 p.m. Eat my roti at 9 p.m. as opposed to 6 p.m. Right, exact same meal, 6 p.m. But I'm having it at 9. The kind of thinking is you're eating the carbs, you've got all that energy now, but then you're just going to go sleep. So that's going to store as body fat, right? Which makes sense on the surface,
Yeah.
but it always comes down to in versus out. So as long as I've done the same amount of exercise and I burnt the same amount of calories that day and I ate the same amount of calories, it doesn't matter what time I eat, right? Again, going back to the principles. So I say to my clients, they all say, what time should I eat? I said, when it suits you best, eat your meals. Right?
Yeah.
Don't stress too much. If you want to eat breakfast, have breakfast. If you don't want to have breakfast, don't have breakfast. But just make sure your calories and your protein are where they need to be at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And when you zoom out over, say, a month period, and we had diet A and diet B, you're going to find the exact same fat loss results.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I know people love to be optimal and they want to see what's the best way to do things. But I always think people miss those basics to try, it's like running before you can walk.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? I'm like, let's walk first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
of course.
And then let's figure out what works better for you. Like you like fasting, you feel good on it. It helps you be consistent.
Yeah.
Perfect. Carry it on. Whereas someone like me, I'm like, I'd rather have my breakfast.
Yeah.
Then I have my lunch. Then I like to train after.
Do you feel weak when you train fasted or you're lacking energy?
Slightly.
Yeah.
I feel, so I try to train in the mornings, early mornings before.
Yeah.
And I did feel a bit weaker. So, and I only really noticed it when I switched back to evening training.
There's so many factors that come into it, right? Like, what's your goals? What time of day do you train? And
Yeah.
what are the other calories you're consuming around that? And it's not just as straightforward as the simple question at the start, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So this is why when I work with clients, I always find out about them first. It's not just like, I just don't give them like a basic meal plan and this is what you need to follow. I'll find out, if they're a mum and they've got kids and if they've got a full-time job, I'll like to find out everything. And then I do my plan suited to them. So I'd say, look, some of them are doing fasting because they prefer it, right? So I'm like, cool, we'll go for 2 big meals, but I need you to get like a protein shake in between somewhere then.
Yeah.
Because the drawbacks with fasting, the biggest drawback is people don't eat enough protein because you're missing a meal. So that could be 50 grams of protein you're not getting.
Yeah.
Then you end up having lunch, normal lunch, normal dinner. And your protein levels are too low. If your protein levels are low, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So then I'll say because I get a lot of clients that join me, they're struggling to lose weight, but they're fasting. And I'm like, look, you're not eating not enough protein. So I was like, let's introduce a protein shake in the morning. I was like, you don't need to do it first thing, but 10 a.m. I want you to have a protein shake then.
Yeah.
Then have your lunch, then have your dinner. And then you're hitting your protein target. And all of these guys start getting really good results.
Yeah.
And they always thought that fasting was magic. And I was like, no. It's just understanding your total calories. And then you plan it out how you want, but you've got to hit the calorie and the protein targets.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So let's say, for example, because I know we both like going for a mixed grill, right? Like, let's say, and you're quite big on the calorie tracking. Obviously, you do things in moderation, but let's say if you're going for a mixed grill, have you planned it before you go? Do you know what you're gonna get? And are you managing it to that point, or do you just relax when you go there and you know you'll burn it off later?
No, so I always like to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Let's say we're going for a mixed grill on a Saturday evening.
Yeah.
If I know on Monday that we're going,
okay,
right?
You'll be up more on it with the calories you're consuming first.
Yeah. So what I'll do Monday so we call this calorie cycling.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine your calorie target is 2,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
Right. Over a week, that's 14,000 calories.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your target to lose body fat.
Yeah.
So with my clients as well, I teach them calorie cycling. So I'm saying your end of the week we need to hit 14,000 calories.
Yeah.
But Saturday, because you're going out,
Yeah.
Let's have a higher calorie day on Saturday,
Yeah. Okay.
but lower
Scale
calorie
it
during
back
the
on.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense.
So Monday to Friday could be 1,750 calories.
Yeah.
Saturday now, instead of being 2,000, could be 3,000 calories.
Okay.
Sunday back to 1,750. End of the week, you're on 14,000.
Because you know what, I feel like I said, I only do what I know works for me. I never try and give too much advice to other people. Like, and I think I do that. Well, I do that subconsciously. Like, say for example, I'm going for a mixed grill later this evening, and this morning, because I knew I was going to have that, maybe feeling a bit of guilt. I think I just had a 4-egg omelette and a coffee. That's all I've had. And I think it's because I know I'm going to go ham later on. I've got to maybe reduce the calories at the start of the day. But that's the kind of principle that you're talking about, right? I think it's just that I do it without realizing on a subconscious level.
Yeah, and that's very important to do because exactly what you said. So that's the other strategy. So we've got calorie cycling where we can plan ahead, come in lower each day, and we have a high day.
Yeah.
Or I call it manage the day.
Yeah.
Which you've done. You're thinking, right, I'm going out tonight, gonna eat more calories.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna eat lighter during the day.
Yeah.
So I always say to my clients, if I'm going out in the evening, I'll skip out my lunch that day.
Yeah.
So I'll have my protein smoothie.
Yeah.
But what I'll do then, usually my protein smoothie's around 10:30, 11. I'm going to have that now around lunchtime. And then there's not such a big gap between my lunch and my dinner because then you can start feeling really hungry.
Okay.
Might have a little protein snack or a piece of fruit before. And then when I go out now, and also I would try to pre-plan what I'm having.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it all depends person to person, how many calories you got available.
Do you not find that really like consuming though, that you have to, when you're having a mixed grill or you're going out later, okay, I'm only allowed this. Sometimes don't you just feel like letting go and fuck it, I'm just going to eat whatever.
No, for sure. You definitely have those moments and they do pop up a lot.
Yeah.
And more so like with myself, I don't actually calorie count that much for myself.
I think you probably know, right?
I know
roughly what you can consume, what you can't.
Yeah, but for my clients, especially the ones that have got fat loss goals,
they're on a long-term fat loss journey. And that's, like you said, if they probably have to restrict their calories earlier in the week if they're gonna if they've got something on the weekend, because obviously they're on an actual fat loss journey,
otherwise they're not gonna what will happen is, imagine they're on normal calories Monday to Friday, so they've been good, they've been following it, but because they have a blowout on Saturday, it basically delays the whole thing, because now
it's tipped them right over.
It's tipped them over, exactly. So that's where the planning and stuff comes ahead. But what I say to a lot of people as well, so that everyone's like, like you said, calorie counting can be a bit, be a bit long,
yeah.
But I was like, look, it's a tool to use. You need to learn, right? I advise my clients, do it for a solid 6 months. After that, you don't need to do it.
I think if you're on that fat loss journey, I think, and again, obviously, it's not something that I'm trying to do, but it sounds like it's something that's proven, right? And it's there. You can calculate it. You can
exactly, and you can make adjustments as well. So when someone hits a plateau. So, and everyone hits plateaus, right? It's never going to be like
that plateau in terms of
they're dropping body fat.
Yeah.
So let's say they're dropping body fat nicely first 8 weeks. Now it starts to plateau because we've been tracking their calories and we've been tracking their steps. I track their sleep, track their water intake. We track a lot of things, right? We can pinpoint. All right, it's starting to slow down here. Now your calories are maybe, say they're on 1,800 a day. I'm going to say right now, what's happened is something called metabolic adaptation. Basically, your body, because you've lost some weight as well, your body's burning less calories than it was before, right? Imagine I used to weigh 100 kilos, now I weigh 80 kilos. Every step I take, I'm lighter in it. So it takes less energy to move 80 kilos than 100 kilos.
Yeah.
So this
I get you.
This metabolic adaptation happens.
Yeah.
So the calories that were working for you first, they stop working at a point.
Does it mean that they then perhaps need to push it even harder in some ways with the training, or?
Yeah, so you've got two options. You drop the calories further, or you can increase your output. So what I do with my clients, I do a bit of both.
Yeah.
We track their steps. So imagine my clients on 10,000 steps a day. I'll say, right, what I want you to do, I'm going to reduce your calories by 100, and I'm also going to increase your step count by 2,000 steps a day.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
In a 1,000 steps should take you about 10 minutes of walking. So that's 20 minutes extra walking. Plus we're dropping the calories by 100. Now we're putting them back into a deficit, and now they'll continue to drop body fat.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. It's interesting as well. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask you, and again, I'm asking a lot of stuff from a selfish perspective, but I'm sure a lot of other people want to know this. So when it comes to fat loss, what would you say is better? So obviously we've heard of LISS training. I see a lot of people at the gym doing
HIIT
on
cardio.
the kind of treadmill for like 45 minutes just walking, or obviously you've got your HIIT as well. Obviously two different things. For myself personally, I've always hated the long steady state cardio of walking on a treadmill for ages. For me, I always like a bit of fun, a bit of competition. So I play seven-a-side with the lads playing football, which is a lot of stop start sprinting, or I do some sprint work in my own time, or I'll do I'll walk on the treadmill for a minute, sprint for a minute. And I find that works so well for me. And again, I'm talking about me, but what would you say is the best for fat loss, LISS or HIIT?
I would say the best for fat loss is the one you can be consistent with.
Yeah.
There's not much difference in it.
Okay.
Right. So
it's what you prefer. Again, it comes down to preference, right?
Because imagine
they both work though. Would you?
They
say?
both work.
Yeah.
They both can really work. Imagine you have a person that's quite overweight. Getting
They're
them,
not going to do.
getting them to do HIIT, it's gonna be taxing on
their
their
knees. Do you think one works better than the other though?
No. I don't really think so. The way I like to do it.
What do you prefer?
I do a lot of LISS. So I do 15 to 20,000 steps a day, every day.
Okay, yeah.
But I've got dogs, right? So I go for dog walks.
Yeah.
Right. So
and again, that suits your lifestyle as well, right? You've got to get the dog walks in. So why would you not just use that as your form of cardio?
Yeah. So I go running here and there.
Okay.
Like I'll do like a 5K run once a week.
Yeah.
Sprinting wise, I don't really sprint unless I'm playing football.
Yeah.
And I used to play once a week with the lads, 7-a-side, 8-a-side. But then I kept getting a lot of injuries, so I haven't played for about 6 months.
I think that's the one risk, obviously, with sprinting and HIIT is that it's
more high impact,
especially as you get older. Right? Maybe it's just me trying to cling on to my young age. I think because I've now hit my 30s. So
but you know what's going on as well, because you've been doing like boxing, you come from that background. For you, the high intensity workouts is what gets you going.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that are trying to just improve their physique, lose a lot of weight. If I got them to do HIIT,
I think they'd have a turn back off.
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
I think you lost the client there then.
Honestly, when I used to personal train people, I've got battle ropes in my gym. I've got the slam ball. I've got the air bike. Right, proper hard.
Did they hate that stuff?
So some clients loved it.
Yeah.
But there was some that I could tell they just didn't enjoy it. So and in my head, because I know that when it comes to fat loss, the main thing comes through your diet. I'm like, the training side of it, why we train is to protect your muscle. That's the main reason why in a fat loss journey.
Yeah.
So I know doing HIIT or doing LISS, there's not much difference.
Yeah.
So I'll just say to this client, look, we're not going to do no HIIT with you. We'll do weight training. And what I'll get you to do is just make sure you're hitting your steps every day. So I might say, look, your steps are going to be 12,000, not 10,000.
Yeah.
Right? If they do that, very similar result versus another client that's doing HIIT work.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. Whatever you're consistent with, whatever you like, do that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to, again, I always refer back to fat loss because that's my main thing, is that comes 90% through your diet.
Yeah,
the training's literally there to make sure you don't lose muscle. And this is another thing as well. When people go too aggressive with their diets, your risk of muscle loss goes up. Yeah. That's why we need protein. That's why we need to do weight training to make sure we don't lose muscle. The goal is lose fat, not muscle.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after as well, just kind of going on to, let's say someone's at the end of their fat loss journey. Let's say I've got someone lean, they've got a 6-pack now, and they're thinking, I want low calories to get here. Because, like we've had to drop the calories lower and lower, right? It gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
When they get to their kind of goal line, finish line, after that, they think, right, to maintain this, do I need to be eating low calories forever? Yeah. And this is where a lot of people mess up, because they get to a point, they kind of had enough, they're sick of it, and they just go back to normal and they regain all that weight. Yeah, and you see this a lot.
It's that sustainability factor.
Yeah.
Right?
So after you do a fat loss phase, there's something called a reverse diet that you should always do.
What is that? I hear a lot about reverse diet. What does that mean?
So what a reverse diet is slowly increasing your calories back up to your maintenance calories. So as we spoke earlier, I said, like your metabolism can drop when you lose weight, right? Imagine someone's lost 20 kilos. Their maintenance calories are going to be lower now. So at the end of their fat loss journey, we recalculate their maintenance calories. So imagine before it was 2,500, now it's 2,200.
Yeah.
Right? They're eating 1,600 calories a day at the moment, right? We need to get them back up to 2,200 calories. So the reverse diet, the way I do it, is I, week by week, increase the calories until we hit 2,200.
Okay.
So we go 1,700 calories for a week, 1,800 calories, 1,900, 2,000. So over about a 6-week period, I'll get them up to maintenance. And then with a lot of my clients, I push them past their maintenance because the way I do it, incrementally, our metabolism should slowly come up as well.
I get you. Yeah.
Now, they're looking good, right? But they're eating 2,200 calories a day rather than 1,600.
Okay, yeah.
But a lot of people don't do the reverse diet. So that's where they mess up. They put the weight back on.
And they put it back on, which is always a big thing, right?
It's massive. I think there's a stat, something like 90% of diets fail. So like 9 out of 10 people that go on a diet, they'll end up regaining all their weight plus some.
I think especially in our culture, like I'm just thinking about my mum, my dad, the kind of people in my family in the older generation. It's definitely a big thing where they can stick to something, but then it's very easy, especially at that age, to fall back into your old ways, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that reverse diet. Yeah, I've always been curious about what that is and how it works. So that's interesting. I did want to talk to you about one of your posts, a bit more of a serious post, and what I thought was a really good kind of educational post. But you got a lot of backlash for, right? It was a post about Langar at the Gurdwara.
Yeah, calories in Langar,
and the calories in Langar, which I thought it was a great post. You got a lot of backlash for it. I found it as educational because I know when people are on their fat loss journey, they're hesitant, right, to eat Langar in the Gurdwara or whatnot. But if anything, you were saying, no, guys, you can eat it. You can eat it, but this is the calories in there.
Yeah.
Like everything else, you eat in moderation.
Yeah.
But what was some of that backlash that you got? How bad did it get? Because I saw some comments which were saying, don't come back to the Gurdwara.
One guy was trying to offer me out.
Who do you think you are talking about Langar? And I think in its own way, you're pushing people to eat Langar. You're just educating them, which in a way is seva in itself, right? So how did you handle that?
So when the reason I done the video was a lot of my clients seek people.
I've seen it myself. Yeah. People go to the Gurdwara and they're on a bit of a diet. And they're like, don't know if I can eat that. So
literally, I've got a few of my clients, and remember I said that Sukhdarshan, one of my best transformations, right?
Yeah.
He would go to the Gurdwara quite a lot, and one of the questions I always get asked, can I still eat Langar?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you can. But I was like, we just need to understand it a little bit, right?
It must have become a popular question to
you,
right?
Yeah, a lot. So whenever I get questioned a lot about certain things, I think, you know what, let me make a video. I've explained everything on the video, and they're like, oh, perfect. That helped me massively.
Because the one thing I like is you didn't do it in any clickbait way or trying to get, obviously it did go viral, but it wasn't from a sense of you trying to do that. You actually did it from an educational standpoint.
Yeah, because I make a lot of videos, right? And that was just like another topic. But yeah, so then with the kind of comments, I got a lot of positive ones. I think that's my most liked post.
Yeah.
The most like positive comments on there as well. But then obviously you had a lot of people saying like, you're being disrespectful. How could you? Langar is blessed food and you shouldn't count the calories. And then I think one guy was like, it's for, feeding the poor and you shouldn't count the calories. And I was like, I understand all of these points, but Langar is actually, yes, feeding the poor, but also it's a sign of equality, right? You can have a rich man eating with a poor man sitting 100%. On the floor. One of the whole point was about equality. So just because you're not poor doesn't mean you can't eat Langar. And then especially in the kind of Western side of the world where I'm from Slough, a lot of people in the Gurdwara, they're not poor people. It's like they're going just normally, right? And they just don't understand Langar. So I'm like, look, you can eat it, but you just need to understand the calories behind it. And if you do end up eating more, right, then we know for dinner later, cut back a bit. Yeah. And it was just to literally educate people. But yeah, some people just took it the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I could see straight away what you were doing. It was with good intention, right? And I think there was nothing wrong with the message. It's a question that is asked widely. You'd been asked it widely. So why would you not try and educate people around it? And it's the same principle, whether it be you're not telling people not to eat it. You're like, guys, no, you can eat the Langar. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. But this is the calorie and the different types of food that you're gonna be eating, just for a bit of knowledge, right?
I was even asked by Slough Singh Sabha Gurdwara. This is quite a few years ago. I go every week. I go once a week. I go usually on a Monday or a Tuesday, right? And one of the guys that's quite involved in there, he asked me to do a calorie chart for the Gurdwara. So I did one. They didn't end up using it. And then I got approached another time by another guy there, and he was saying similar stuff to me. He's like, look, we want to make Langar healthier. Can you help us out? I was like, for sure. And I think in Canada, I think it's in Ontario, they've actually, the first Gurdwara there's put a calorie chart there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And I think it's really good because if someone doesn't even know what calories are, which a lot of people are very unaware of it, at least it starts to just ask a couple of questions. Because in the Indian culture, we have a massive problem with high cholesterol and diabetes.
Yeah.
Right.
And why? I know this is going to be a different topic, but let's talk about why that is afterwards as well.
Yeah. So a lot of our foods we eat are very high carb, quite high in fats because we use a lot of oil.
Yeah.
So quite high in calories and very low in protein. So so if we kind of just shift onto the diabetes thing now, Indians genetically we have a higher risk. I think it's up to 50% higher.
Is that just genetically though, or is that because of the foods that we consume?
See, I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a genetic factor in there.
Yeah.
Right. But then on top of that, when you look at the standard, I call it the standard British Indian diet. It's like eating roti a few times a week. It's eating oven food. It's eating cereal every morning.
The odd samosa.
Yeah, exactly. Having takeaway a few times a week, especially nowadays with Uber Eats and things like that. You can get takeaway, boom, pop of just press a button. You got takeaway to your door, right? So what's happened now is we're in a culture where food is really easy to get. And especially like foods that are very high in calories. So as an Indian kind of background, you've got slightly higher risk, plus you've got this bad kind of diet.
That easy accessibility to bad foods.
So what happens is, and I read this book called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. Really wicked guy. If you even for the listeners, if they Google him, he's got some really good stuff about, and his whole thing is about how to live longer, healthier, longer life.
Yeah.
So he explains it as we can all safely store body fat, and we call this subcutaneous fat. So underneath your skin, you can safely store body fat.
Okay.
Right. But then we can also unsafely store body fat. That will be kind of around our organs, right? And he explains it as this: like, imagine you've got a bathtub, and you've got the water coming into the bathtub. That's the fat coming up. You've also got the plug hole. That's the fat going out. Like fat coming in, fat coming out. Now, if the fat comes in at a faster rate, what happens is your bathtub will keep rising, right? But that's still safe. The water's in the bathtub. That's safe. But imagine now it starts to overflow. Now it starts to ruin your tiles, the floor, right? Everything starts getting mashed up. That's the same with like the way we store body fat. We can safely store fat to a point, but then it starts to overflow into around our organs. We call this visceral fat. And then when it goes around the pancreas, which is responsible for releasing insulin, that is when we start getting diabetes or getting towards type 2 diabetes. So we're unsafely storing body fat now. But the thing is, everyone has a different capacity to safely store body fat. So imagine everyone's got a different bathtub size. Yeah. So my bathtub could be bigger than your one. So I can probably get a little bit fatter than you safely. But then also, because you might have a smaller bathtub, this is like why you might have a slim person who looks slim on the outside, but on the inside they're unhealthy. Because
that's a good way of looking at it.
Their bathtub's smaller. Whereas you've got another guy who could be really overweight, but on the inside they could be metabolically healthy. Right? Because they've got a bigger bathtub. They've got a bigger capacity to store body fat safely than another person. So that can come down to genetics as well. So what I think with Indians, I think we have smaller bathtubs. Yeah. So I just think in general, this is why when we store body fat, we can store it safely to a certain point. But then it really overflows and it causes havoc. So it will go around the organs, and then also that's where we get high cholesterol. It will start to build up in our arteries, and that's where you get heart problems, which is a big problem in Indian community as well. Heart disease, heart problems, and diabetes. They're the main two. So, but you find this across the world anyway, but Indians in particular.
Yeah, because we know amongst Indians, it's definitely a problem, right?
Massive problem.
From a kind of food consumption perspective, would you say that our foods are demonized? Personally, I think obviously there's like a lot of cultures. There's good foods, there's bad foods that we eat, and say your fried samosa, your spring rolls, and things like that. For me, it's just a case of, again, you bang on about this a lot, and I say the same. Moderation is key. If you're going to eat something like that, just know there's a consequence to it as well, and eat it in moderation. Like,
exactly. So this is like kind of going back to our calorie counting thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you understand the calories, and and everyone should understand their own calorie requirements, right? So you've got your maintenance calories, and you should like know roughly what your maintenance calories are. It will change depending. Like if I did more exercise one day, I obviously burnt more calories. If I did less exercise, it will change a bit, right?
I've got, sorry to interrupt you. I've got a question for you then. Let's say, okay, I had the same amount of calories in a McDonald's meal, whatever McDonald's meal it is, and something which is like a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
Could you get the same results in
Yeah.
both?
So from a fat loss perspective,
You can.
you can. There's going to be
But
slight.
it's just whatever's healthy internally for you, right?
But even then, so there's a really good. So this guy in America, his name is John Sisner.
Yeah.
He was a 55-year-old teacher at the time, science teacher, and he done an experiment with his kids about calories. His class that he was teaching.
Yeah.
So what he done, for 6 months straight, he ate only McDonald's, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He made sure he didn't exceed 2,000 calories.
Okay.
So 2,000 calories for him was a deficit, and so he ate McDonald's 6 months straight. Every day he would eat a burger, fries, and a soft drink every evening.
Okay.
But his breakfast and his lunch, they do like breakfast options, granola.
Yeah.
So the breakfast and lunch wasn't so bad.
Okay, yeah.
But his dinner every day was like a typical
Yeah.
Mackey's meal. Yeah. Over 6 months, he lost over, I think, 23 kilos.
Wow.
If you look at his before photo and after photo, his beard was out here.
Yeah.
Bro, it went bang, slim. The only exercise he was doing was 45 minutes walking a day.
Yeah.
And he also done all his blood work before and after.
And what did it show after?
So this is where I was like, okay, I thought, you lost weight because the calories. That makes sense. You didn't go over 2,000 calories.
But surely that would have been rotting his insides.
Nah,
with
so
Mackey's
all his health markers improved. Blood pressure,
How?
triglyceride,
I don't understand
cholesterol.
how that, because surely we know, like with Mackey's, it's shitty processed food. So how has that improved his markers? I don't understand.
So the reason why it improved it though, this is the reason, and this is the main kind of overarching point, is because he was in a deficit, he was able to lose body fat.
Okay.
If you can lose body fat and a significant amount of body fat,
It has a better impact on the rest of your...
exactly, overall health will improve, right? So even if you ate like a rubbish diet like that, McDonald's every day, but if you're really overweight and you lose a lot of weight, you will become actually metabolically healthier.
Fucking hell, I need to start calorie counting.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but it sounds like I need to.
So the reason why calorie counting is good, right, is, and I don't tell my clients to eat McDonald's every day.
Yeah.
Like people, I made a video about this.
Could you though, in all honesty?
You
like,
could.
If it works.
I had a client, one client, he's someone I personally trained, and he's on my website as well. He didn't know how to cook at all.
Yeah.
And when he come to me, he was really overweight, and he would say I would get 3 Uber Eats a day.
Which is a big problem though as well, I guess. Maybe some of the clients you have that sometimes I'm not the greatest cook.
Yeah. So it's like just trying to get fast food, right?
Yeah.
But he would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He would order Uber Eats, and he would order, all the gund.
Yeah.
So I said to him, look, have you got Nando's on there? He's like, yeah, I've got Nando's. All right, cool. What you're going to do is every day, we're going to just get your food from Nando's. Morning, I made him have a protein shake. I was like, change your breakfast for a protein smoothie. Every day, he ordered a whole chicken from Nando's, right? He had a half chicken for lunch, and he had a half for dinner. Very rarely he'd order chips, but he would usually get like salad or rice or the broccoli with it. But he was able to eat Nando's every single day, pretty much every day. And he lost, I think in 8 months, he lost 22 kilos. So he went from like this to this. And that was eating like Nando's every day. So it can be done when you understand the calories. But the thing is, eating McDonald's every day. So this is the problem. When you eat McDonald's versus, imagine you've got another diet, same calories though, but it's good food.
Yeah.
Imagine it's all like healthy, nutritious stuff. That diet, you're going to feel so much better on than the McDonald's diet. The McDonald's diet, you're not going to feel good. You're going to feel hungry. Because it doesn't have enough micronutrients.
Okay.
Yeah, so I always do this example. You got an apple and you got a chocolate.
Yeah.
Imagine that they're the exact same calories. 100 calories, 100 calories. You're feeling a bit peckish, you're a bit hungry. You got a choice. I think my clients, and in my clients' meal plans, I give them a choice. There's an option for a chocolate, but the other option is an apple or a fruit.
Yeah, give them the choice.
Yeah, I give them the choice because I'm like, if you want the chocolate, have the chocolate. So I know it will still work at the end of the day.
Yeah.
As long as they don't go over, right? But the chocolate doesn't have micronutrients in there or as many as, say, the apple does. So when I eat that apple, it's giving my body what it wants.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas the chocolate is giving me calories, but it's not giving me what I actually wanted. So my body will still say I'm hungry.
Is it a case of it's not giving you what your body wants, or is there also an additional factor that so
Yeah,
confused?
this is the thing though. This is what I'm saying. It's very
Yeah.
confusing for a lot of people, but again, the overarching point is if you lose a significant amount of body fat,
Yeah.
you will become healthy at
Yeah,
the end
yeah,
of
yeah.
it. It's like there's no two
No
ways
two
about
ways
it.
about it,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
no
yeah.
two ways about it. But yeah, again, the apple versus the chocolate. The apple's obviously a better choice, right? More micronutrients. Also, it's a whole food. So this is where like whole foods are better than processed foods because when we eat whole foods, it gives us more kind of micronutrients, but also in our stomach, it takes up more space. So you'll feel full.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas processed food like chocolates, cookies, like a pack of cookies, I
Yeah.
could demolish the whole pack.
Yeah,
yeah, and that could be a solid 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
And I could still eat, like I'm still hungry. I could still
Yeah.
eat dinner
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
right? But if you were to have 1,000 calories in fruit,
Yeah.
you'll be stuffed.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where like food quality does play a part.
Okay.
So it's not just about like only calories only, and this is where people they see my videos and they think I'm just like promoting fast food and calories only and just worry about your calories. Food quality is very important,
Yeah.
but if having one chocolate a day helps my client stay on track and not binge, then wicked. Let's put that in their plan.
Yeah, I think one thing I see on social media a lot is, and obviously, like let's say for example, you did a post on the apple versus the chocolate. Obviously, you can only give so much context in one video.
Yeah.
People will say to you, "How can you be promoting chocolate?"
Yeah, exactly.
To your clients,
Yeah,
this, that, and the
yeah,
other. It could be the same with anything else as well. Like you could do, like you did a post on mixed grill. Someone could say to you, "Oh my god, I can't believe that you're
Eating a mixed grill."
you're
Yeah.
promoting mixed grill and not proper whole fresh foods." Like there
like-
has to be context
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
applied. You could. It's so easy to take a snippet of someone's clip
Yeah.
and just absolutely like shit on it and what they've
Yeah.
said. It's too easy to do that, I think, nowadays. But like with everything, there has to be context applied, right?
Exactly.
And what you try to do is be relatable to your audience and to your clients, which I find you very relatable. Like myself, I'm going for a do you know what? I'm going for a mixed grill later. What should I be ordering?
Yeah. All right. So, if
I'm not on a fat loss journey,
yeah.
but let's say if I wanted to be
Let's say you were,
reasonably
though.
healthy. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's say I was.
Let's say you were on a fat loss
Yeah, yeah,
journey and you're thinking, going mixed grill later. What should I get? So
Yeah.
this is my go-to.
Yeah.
Is I go for the chicken tikka starter
Yeah.
because high in protein. Also, because it's more like grilled version, it's going to
Yeah.
be low in calorie versus like, for example, a butter chicken,
Okay.
very high in calories because they use cream to make the food.
Yeah.
Whacking in lots of oil.
That used to be my go-to.
Yeah,
as well.
everyone loves butter chicken, right?
Yeah.
But very high calories butter
Okay,
chicken.
yeah.
So because I know this, I'm like, right, chicken tikka starter.
Yeah.
This what I do. I double up on it. So
Yeah.
I'll do it for starter,
Yeah.
and then I'll have it with salad,
Yeah.
and then I'll also do it with main, and I have tandoori roti with it.
Okay.
Yeah, some people have naan.
What
whatever.
about cheese naan? Should I be staying away from
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's very high calorie as well. But again, if you've planned it out,
Yeah. Oh, okay. If you.
yeah, imagine I know I've got 2,000 calories that I can use
Yeah.
because I've planned it.
Yeah.
I can go ham.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get butter chicken, I can get this, I get that. The only thing though is trying to calculate the calories from food that you haven't made yourself is always really hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you
It
go
is,
amount of oil they use, the amount of butter they use.
Yeah. You can only estimate, right?
Yeah, and 1 tablespoon of oil, there's 120 calories, right? Now we don't know how much oil they've used. They could have used in your dish. That could be 6, 7, 8 tablespoons.
Yeah.
That could be like 800 calories just in
yeah.
oil. So that's where it's tricky.
Okay.
But what I advise my clients, I'm like, look, don't go out. Like, try not to eat out too much. I'd say in a week, 1 meal out is fine. Maybe 2 max.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, you should have prepared the food yourself because you need to know the quantities in that food. Because if you're doing this calorie thing properly, it's not easy. You got to track everything.
Yeah. I can
So
imagine.
you got to weigh your food. You know, if I say to someone 150 grams of rice, they need to be weighing that. Otherwise, you know, if they're not tracking it properly, and this is a big mistake
Yeah.
people make, they cuss calories and counting calories because they don't do it properly, and they're like, oh, I was on 1,200 calories, I didn't lose weight. I was like, bro, if you were on 1,200 calories, you would lose so much weight.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I think you know when people are
exactly
or not, right?
Honestly, I've had a few people, and then I've had to really, I get them.
Have you ever had that with clients where they'll put it back onto you and be like, "What are you doing? I'm not losing weight."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they'll put the blame onto you. Have you
Yeah,
ever had
yeah.
that?
So I've had
And
that.
how do you deal with it as a personal trainer?
So what I always say to them, look, let's go back to the beginning. Let's I want you to send me photos of all your food that you're having.
You just have to start asking for more evidence.
Yeah, more evidence, right? So then they start sending me their stuff, and then I'll see like they've got sauce on their plate.
Yeah,
Did you track that?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh nah.
Yeah.
And then also one of my clients, she was having about 3 cups of tea a day. Yeah, a little bit of milk, tiny bit of milk in there, tiny bit of sugar. I think 1 teaspoon. Even 1 teaspoon, not that many calories, but each tea was about 40 calories, right?
Yeah.
She's having 3.
Yeah.
That's 120 calories a day. And I'm like, look, that's where your calories are coming from. You're not tracking everything properly. So if you don't do it properly, it doesn't work. But if you do it properly, you can actually eat chocolates and things like that if you do it properly.
I guess that's probably from an education standpoint as well. They probably don't even think nothing of it, do they? They probably think,
it's a drink and a liquid.
It's fine.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's a good point. And sometimes that you need that, right? You need to be pulled up on certain little things, which is why they hire you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing I want to get your viewpoint on is, so growing up, luckily I've had a really good influence in my dad when it comes to alcohol. Like he'll always he'll enjoy a glassy, like used to enjoy his like whiskey or vodka, but he'd only ever have 1 or 2, and it's the same for a lot of the male members in my family, like my chacha, my dad, etc. They would literally have 1 or 2, and then that's it. They'd stop. So I had a good influence. Didn't rub off on me too much, obviously, when I went to university. And
uni's a different story.
Yeah, but one of the things that I got told from the men in my family is stick to shorts. Don't drink beers. You're gonna get a dead. And to be fair, I've stuck by it, and I'm assuming it's not the only factor as to why I haven't got a dead. But what would you say when it comes to? Is it all about calories again when it comes to beer versus spirits?
It is come down to the calorie thing as well. So the only way you gain weight or get fat is when you eat over the calories, right? In a calorie surplus. So you're burning X amount. If you eat this much, this is where the weight gain happens.
Yeah.
Right? So in 1 pint of beer, there's about 250 calories. Right? In 1 double whiskey, there's 110 calories. Right? So I could have 2 doubles for 1 pint of beer.
Okay.
Right? After 2 doubles, I'm probably feeling a bit more, like looser than having 1 pint of beer. So
for me, you probably have to then, you can drink less. You will end up drinking less whiskey because, like you said, after 2, you're probably a bit tipsy.
2 doubles,
But then I know people who drink beer, they're going to need about 4 or 5, right?
Exactly. So it's very typical for people to sit in the pub, have 4 pints. Yeah, that's 1,000 calories. Whack in a mixed grill. One of my clients, he's actually one of my mates, good mate. I worked out how much in 1 sitting he had in the pub. Standard day, we worked out, I think he was touching about 4,000 calories in that 1 sitting.
Okay.
Right? And I was like, bro, this is where you're going wrong. Because he's saying during the week, I'm good. But every Saturday he goes to the pub, watches the football.
Yeah, absolutely. Just destroys all the good work, right?
Exactly. But going back to the alcohol, so so we've got 4 macronutrients. Yeah. Right? We've got carbs, fats, protein, and the 4th one's actually alcohol. What macronutrient means is a source of of calories. So in 1 gram of carbs and protein, there are 4 calories. In 1 gram of fat, 9 calories. In 1 gram of alcohol, there's 7 calories. So dietary fat is the highest. Right? Alcohol is the second at 7 calories per gram. And carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram. Right? So if you understand your calorie intake, you can actually budget in a few drinks, still be within your calories, and you won't put on like a beer belly. Yeah. But again, always goes back to understanding your calorie intake. So this is why I like, again, calories. Why I like it is because you can be flexible with your diet. We call it flexible dieting. Stay within your calories. Most of the time, eat good food. Give yourself a 10 to 20% flexibility where you might want to have a chocolate. You might want to have a glassy. I train a lot of Indian guys, and a lot of them do like to have a couple of whiskeys on the weekend. I put that in their plan. I said, look, tell me how many you want. As long as it's not nothing stupid, like they can't have half a bottle. But I'm like, look, if you want like 2 doubles, I can budget that in. That's 220 calories. Mix it with water.
What type of doubles are these?
No, so these are 50 ml.
These are type of doubles or actual doubles?
I done a video on that as well, which I literally...
I think I saw is that the Jack Daniels, I think it was.
So I was like, let me actually measure a bag, something I would pour. So a double is 50 ml, and that's 110 calories. When I poured mine was 70, just over 70 ml, 72. So it's basically a triple. But in my head, I'm thinking I'm always having doubles. But And even that shot, it wasn't as dirty as some of the lads pour, right? They pour half cups and stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll say, I've only had 2 drinks.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yo, your 2 drinks were like
Yeah.
serious amount of calories.
Yeah.
But in their mind, they've had 2 doubles. But I'm like, you've had 2 like triples or quadruples.
Yeah.
And that's where the calories can creep in and people just don't understand it.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Well, I guess if I was going to have a whiskey, what about having a whiskey Coke versus a whiskey and water?
Yeah.
I'm guessing whiskey water better, right?
Exactly. So whiskey water is water 0 calorie.
Yeah.
Your Coca-Cola is going to be, it's going to add some calories to the drink. You can do a Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you like that fizzy drink, you can do a Coke Zero instead. So I drink Coke Zero.
Yeah.
A lot of it's been demonized a lot. Like I don't know if you've seen it.
What's your thoughts on that?
Artificial sweeteners and all this kind of stuff. So
because that's the other side that I always hear. Like, obviously, it's 0 sugar, but people are like, yeah, but the long-term effect it's going to have on you if you keep drinking it with all the artificial shit they put in there to make up for it. Is that true? Or
so there's
and again, or is it just a moderation thing? Like, just don't fucking drink
exactly.
Coke Zero every 2 minutes.
So I think there's something in Coke Zero. I don't know exactly what it is from memory, but it's they say it causes cancer. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, no. But the amount of Coke Zero you'd have to drink,
for that to
even be something, I think you need to drink 30 cans in one day.
This is what I mean. Like, as soon as someone makes that remark, it's the whole scare factor, right? But I guess it's the same as, if you had a mixed grill every day for 30 days, you're gonna get cancer. There's a good chance something bad's gonna happen if you have a mixed grill every day for 30 days.
If you have it once in a month, and the rest of your diet is all good, it's fine. And even there's a guy on Instagram, I think his name's Paul Saladino, the Gora from America, and he's like viral, but he's kind of like Eddie Abu, very similar. He'll go into supermarkets, he'll grab stuff and say, don't do this, look at this. Now, one video he made was on broccoli. He says, don't eat broccoli, right? It's got this thing in broccoli, which is not great for the human body. But again, it's a tiny, minuscule amount that it doesn't even, is negligible. And the amount of good stuff in broccoli is actually outweighs that tiny, tiny little thing.
I think this is the big thing now, isn't it? Like, there are lots of foods that are being demonized for whatever reason, like you said, because there's something in there that may not be great for you. But then with context applied as to how much that is and how much of it you would have to eat,
consume,
how much should you eat for it to be good for your body. There's so much behind it. And I'm just talking from, obviously I'm not a personal trainer when it comes to nutrition or anything like that. And I think I'm talking probably for a lot of other people who are on their health and fitness journey. It's so fucking confusing these days. There's so much information out there. How do you know what to listen to anymore, right? So the advice that I would give someone, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, but let's say, for example, if I wanted to get into a particular shape or physique, or not even bothered about appearance wise, it was more feeling better, you have to find the PT that's relatable to you, or maybe has the physique that you want, or that you can relate to the most, right? I think that's the best advice you could probably give someone, because if you do need that education and guidance, go to someone who you can relate to. Yeah,
because I've had so many people come onto my plans after they've done a different plan, and don't get me wrong, the other plans, they're good on paper and they worked. So I had a guy, I think he was on a 12-week plan. He lost about 12 kilos. But after the plan, he rebounded. Right. So he's come to me now. He's like, oh, I've done this plan.
Does he go away from you and then come back?
So this guy, he was with another trainer.
Yeah.
But then he's got the
he
results.
Rebounded after that and then came to me. Yeah.
Right. And I've had this plenty of times. Yeah. And the reason why, they were like, look, the food they gave me was just not realistic for my lifestyle. They told me I can't eat roti. I can't have this. I couldn't have a glassi. Yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. I go, look, if you do what I tell you to do, but I go, you have to follow what I say.
How do you gain that trust from the start? Do they kind of take your word for it and give you that trust?
Yeah. So before I sign up anyone, we always do a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And that's where I would always kind of find out about them, find out what they're doing.
Yeah.
I explain how all my services work. I'll explain exactly how it's going to be. But then I never take like the sale on the call. I would always give them all the information. I say to them, look, I'm going to message you tomorrow morning, right? Process everything off. Because a lot of people, they want to make the sale on the call.
Yeah.
And you get taught this all the time.
I like that you give them that chance to take it away, think about it.
Because I only want to work with people that are on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to pressure someone into doing it. Because
the worst thing is if someone's following your plan but half-heartedly,
Exactly.
right? Because then you're kind of like, what's the
yeah,
point
you're not doing it right. So
Yeah.
so I will give them all the info, and then the next day usually I'll just drop them a WhatsApp,
Yeah.
like, "Hi, Barinda, are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you know, do you want to go ahead with the plan?"
Yeah.
And if they say yeah, perfect, we sign them up. But
Yeah.
that's how I gain my trust with them. I always do that free Zoom call in the beginning, just to kind of make sure they understand what they're getting. I understand them, and then good just to see where they're coming from as well. Like everyone's from different backgrounds, everyone's got
Yeah,
different
yeah.
struggles. You know, like I'm training a lot of women, a lot of mums. I'm training a lot of like dads and you know, business guys that need to travel for work a lot. So that's always hard to manage if they're
Yeah, of
traveling.
course.
But yeah, I always try to kind of do what's best for them, and I try to tailor my programs as much as I can to the individual. I know the key principles are always in place, right? So they're the same for everyone.
Yeah.
Fat loss, calorie deficit, protein. Make sure you've got enough fiber. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. And I track all of these daily with my clients. So every day we track how many hours they're sleeping, what were their calorie intake, how much protein did they have.
Here's another thing I heard, and again, this is just off the top of my head. I want to get your thoughts on it. Do men need more sleep? Do women need more sleep than men?
I think they do. I think from a like an overall general standpoint, I think there is something that women do tend to need a bit more sleep. But again, I think it's very individual.
Yeah.
Some of my clients, I always push for 7 hours minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not many people hit 8. 8's like gold standard, yeah? If you can hit 8 hours...
That's when we're in the uni days, I think.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You can
8
just
hours,
lie
no
in.
more.
But no one can really hit 8 hours these days, especially when you've got family, you've got kids, you've got the school run in the morning, you've got work. So I always push my clients to get 7. And there was a study done. I can't remember the exact study, but they had 2 groups. One group was sleeping 5 hours a day. One group was sleeping 8 hours a day. Same diet, same training, everything else the same. And they tracked their weight loss and fat loss. They both lost the same amount of weight, yeah? But the group that slept longer, they lost more fat and less muscle. Whereas the other group, they ended up losing muscle and some fat.
Okay,
So for muscle retention, sleeping, like getting you a good amount of sleep is really important. But yeah, I said sleep could be number one.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have good sleep, everything else the next day is a slog, isn't it?
Yeah. No, 100%. And then I think obviously we've spoke about kind of the discipline and accountability factor. And I'm sure that's one of the main reasons that people kind of come to you, right? But what would be some of your kind of main tips when it comes to accountability and discipline? Because I saw something the other day on your Instagram, which I really liked. So you've just been to Ibiza, right?
Yeah,
you've enjoyed yourself on a stag do.
Yeah.
But you set yourself a rule of, okay, as soon as I'm back, I have to have had at least one training session within 2 days. And I like that as an accountability and from a discipline perspective. So again, I feel like I do something similar. I just went to Mexico. I came back and I found myself, the longer I was out of the gym and not getting in, the harder it was going to be to start again. So I have to, I give myself 1-2 days max, and I've got to be back in there. Because it's only, it's 45 minutes, hour of your
day. You feel
day.
wicked after.
Yeah, exactly. But what would be your kind of top tips for kind of accountability and discipline? Or if you don't have the discipline, how do you get the discipline?
Okay, so I think a really key thing is you have to have a strong why, right? So whenever
I like that,
whenever my clients sign up with me, they do a questionnaire, and one of the questions, like in capitals letters, is like, why do you want / need to do this? And they'll give me answers like, for my kids or for my health or, thing. And I always say to people, whenever you're kind of lacking that discipline or you're feeling that moment of weakness, like, oh, shall I have a samosa or should I have this, should I have that? I'm like, always go back to why you're doing this in the first place. If your why is not strong enough, it's going to be too easy for you
That's
to
so true. It needs to be a strong enough.
Yeah.
If it's a flippant why that you've just thought of in 30 seconds, I think if you really think about your why, then you'll follow it, right?
So that's key. I say to people, look, do that.
Yeah.
Think about that question, why. Once you've got that, then I always say to my clients, and I do this myself, is set yourself minimum standards, right? So in a normal week, I'll train 5 times, right? In a normal week, everything's to plan. No, I ain't got, like, next week, so I've got a wedding week, the stag do I went on is the wedding next week. So we've got the Lady Sangeet on Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got a lads night. Thursday, we've got the juggle. Saturday we've got
Standard.
Saturday we've got the Gurdwara, Sunday's the
Yeah.
reception.
Yeah.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 events.
Yeah.
So my training next week is definitely going to be disrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially I'm quite close. We've got to do a lot of missions, you know, doing all
So
that.
you're
kind
making up for it this week.
yeah, so I'm going to do training this week, but then I set myself a minimum standard. I said, okay, cool. Usually I do 5 workouts a week. My minimum is 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
So if I can't do 5, at least I'm definitely going to do 3. My steps, I do 15 to 20,000 steps every day. If I'm going on a minimum, I can say, right, minimum can be 10,000. I've got to hit 10,000, right? So even if I'm like running around, I haven't hit 10, I'm going to go hit 10. And you just put these minimum standards in place.
Yeah.
So that even in a bad week, right? Some of my clients are doing 3 workouts a week. I said that your minimum is once a week. Yeah, even if you had a really rubbish week, you still got 1
Do it.
workout in.
Yeah, hold yourself accountable.
So I think that's really important. But the accountability, that's where I think is the key thing when people like hire a coach. You can
Sometimes
find
you need it to start with, right? If you're not familiar with training, the gym, diet, you need it, right?
yeah, for sure. Like you can find meal plans, training plans, all online, Chat GPT and all of this. Yeah, you can find it all, man.
Yeah.
But you could have it all on paper in front of you.
Yeah.
But
It's not going to give you that accountability factor.
and I always say to my clients, I say, look, my job is to educate you. So I really educate my clients about calories. I teach them, you know how I make their plans? I teach them exactly how I've done it.
Yeah.
I teach them how I calculate the calories, how do I calculate the macros, how I calculate the body fat percentage. My thing is to give them all the tools they need. So once and then also to start building their habits, build a routine, right? And then they can start slowly going off by themselves. And when they don't need me anymore, I always say this on the call to them. I want to get you to a point where you don't need me.
You don't need it. And you can be accountable yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So if I get you to that point, some people 3 months, wicked, they're sorted. Some people 6 months. I had a lady stay with me for a year.
Yeah.
And
She needs it. She needs it.
yeah,
Right?
she
Everyone's
smashed it
different.
as well. And with her as well, she had a period where she goes, let me try by myself. I'm like, perfect. About 8 weeks later, she contacted me back. She's like,
She wasn't quite ready to
yeah,
take that
she's
leap
like, I kind of
herself.
fallen off a bit. I was like, look, come back. And also, we hadn't done her reverse diet yet. So I was telling her, I go, look, you've done the fat loss phase. I go, do the reverse diet. Now you've got more calories. You can maintain higher calories a lot easier than trying to maintain like 1,200 calories. It's too hard. But if you can maintain at 1,600 for a lady, she's got more to play with, and it becomes way easier. So I think that's another key thing as well, is just seeing the journey through.
Do you think people are often guilty of looking for the easiest diet plan or the easiest way to lose weight or the easiest way to put on muscle? Because I think if there's one thing that I've realized is the majority of the value comes in going through the journey of struggling and getting to where you need to get to, because you'll learn so much about yourself physically, mentally,
like
what limits
track.
you can push, what you can't, where you maybe overdo with some things, some bits where you're not kind of maybe working hard enough. Like there's value in not always looking for the easiest way of doing things, right?
No, 100%. Like if we look at it from, let's say, muscle building, right? So we can obviously get into gym, we can train hard, we're doing all, eating enough protein, we're on it, we're getting enough sleep, we're looking at our recovery. But then you would say the fast track is taking steroids.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, people that take steroids, they still have to train hard to build
Have
muscle.
you had any physique competitors come to you, like bodybuilders or like?
No, so I'm actually quite close to a guy in India. His name's Sheru. He runs a show called Sheru Classic. So I went to Mumbai in 2017, and he runs a whole fitness expo in India.
Oh wow!
Yeah. It's massive in India. It's huge. I might be going again in June potentially, but he gets all the biggest bodybuilders there: Phil Heath, Kai Green, all of these guys are there.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting when I was in India. Went to the toilet, and this is backstage.
Yeah.
I went to the toilet, and all the guys that were about to step on stage, the physique athletes, there's needles everywhere. Wow. I'm talking like you're stepping
even
on
right
needles
before you're going on stage.
I don't know what
Surely
they were doing.
that doesn't make a difference, right?
I don't know what it was, but there was needles everywhere. Yeah, and it's crazy because I think I made a video as well about bodybuilding.
Yeah,
and I said,
I know you're not a big fan.
Yeah, I guess.
To be fair, I've seen the stress that it can put on people's bodies.
I get it from. I always get these things from a mental challenge. You want to challenge yourself. You want to do something crazy. But
I applaud it from that perspective.
Like it's really hard to do. Like bodybuilding is probably one of the hardest sports because 24/7 you have to watch your diet. Like you could do football. Like you could be a footballer and and you could eat a Mackie D's and you could still play good.
Yeah,
Because you got skill in it.
yeah.
But to become a professional bodybuilder, you have to be on it all the
It
time, right?
consumes your whole life,
But
right?
then these guys obviously banging lots of gear, which at the time it's obviously helping them a lot. But I think you always hear ex-bodybuilders say,
They regret
I've
it
messed my body up.
further down the line.
Yeah, or like even mentally.
There's
I've
one thing
messed
Eddie
up.
Abu actually did
Yeah,
say
yeah,
fair
yeah.
play to him, because he did it to quite a high level.
Yeah,
That's one thing
he
I
was
do
really
like
high
when
level.
people talk about their mistakes. He's like, listen, he goes, fucked me up mentally, it fucked me up physically. And I like that he does talk about his mistakes. That's one thing I'll give him credit for. But now that we've touched on it as well, steroids, performance enhancing drugs, is so widely accessible. And I've actually seen people who, they're not particularly big gym goers and they've just recently started gym. I've seen them actually like jump on stuff.
Yeah.
And they've ended up in the doctors further down the line or whatever.
But they're looking for that shortcut you're talking about.
Yeah, they're looking for that easy route, right? But yeah, what's your thoughts on it and why? Yeah, people shouldn't take that route, because I even heard, and I don't know much about this. I seen this guy on Instagram talk about it. He's a bit of a comedy guy, like Jack Joseph. I don't know if you've seen him.
Oh, no, I haven't seen
Instagram, but he's not a gym goer. But is it called Psalms? I think he took
Psalms, yeah.
and apparently he literally almost killed him. He wasn't a proper gym; he was just a casual gym goer.
Right.
But he took Psalms, and literally his whole face went yellow, and eyes bloodshot, and ended up in hospital, and he was ill for like a year. But there's a lot of
there's a lot of risks. So that market, right? So you don't really know what you're buying off this person, right? And I think people are chasing a fast result. They're not willing to put the work in, and they put their body at very high risk. I'm a very big believer in, like, you should know what you're putting into your body. So even when it comes to food, even if I eat takeaways and stuff, I'm understanding what's in it, understanding the calories behind it. I'm understanding all these things, right?
Because this is black market shit.
Yeah.
But what about, would you say so I know I'm flipping from casual gym goer to bodybuilder, but what about the bodybuilders who said they take stuff, but they're always getting their blood work checked and it says they're in tip-top condition, but then is it again about the risk of further down the line?
Yeah. So I think so when people do it like that, I think that like you're becoming a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You have to take gear if you're gonna be a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You have to. You can't make it to the top without it, right? Yeah. But yeah, if they're getting their blood work done and they're kind of looking after themselves, I can see that angle. Personally, I would never do it, but I can see that angle.
Yeah.
But when you've got, and this happens a lot, especially with the upper community, you get the young lads in the gym, 19, 20 years old. They've only been training for a minute and they jump on gear. I'm like, bro, you don't even know what your calorie intake is.
Yeah.
You don't even eat enough protein per day. And just because your mate done it and he got good results, you jump on it. And then what happens as well, and I've seen it with personally my own friends, they get on gear, they get good results, become really strong. But when you come off gear, it goes.
Do you know what? I actually saw that there was somebody at my gym. He was, this is when I was quite younger, and he was really lean, looked in wicked shape, really ripped, athletic and whatnot. Then obviously he must have, when you are young, you want to be a bit jacked and a bit big. So he was already weight training. He got on the gear. I didn't know anything about it. Kept it obviously to himself. And yeah, he definitely put on some size. He was shifting a shitload of weight. Looked in good shape as well. He put on the size. But I started noticing over time. Obviously, you see on social media, he's eating kebabs and stuff for lunch. And like his diet's going downhill. And obviously, he's not keeping his discipline while he's on it. And I hadn't spoke to this guy for years. I just saw a picture of his physique. Completely like different, and obviously not saying everyone has to have abs and look in shape, but from where he was to where he was now, and the fact that he probably should never have even touched that because he was already lean in shape. Then he's gone on to taking steroids, and it may be from kind of social pressures or whatever, but unless you're on it 100% of the time. I've seen people who kind of their body sags from it and things like that. Is a lot of risk factors, right?
And I think as well, like, if you're going to become a professional bodybuilder and that's what you want to do, I get the whole thing. But when you're just like a regular casual guy,
ask your why, right? Like, you said, I like that you said that.
Why are you doing this? And then what happens is because you felt so good on it, right? You're feeling strong, you're looking good, and you're ripped and jacked and all of that. Obviously, when you come off, it goes down. So what happens is you get into the cycle of only training when you're on it. Because imagine going from 140 kilo bench press down to 80. That's going to mess you up mentally. You're looking, man, I was so strong 2 months ago. Yeah. So then what people do is they actually, it turns a lot of these casual gym goers off the gym. They only go when they're on it.
Okay.
And when they're off it, they're just completely off.
What about TRT, testosterone replacement therapy? I know that's getting quite big as well.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
and I know maybe more so when people get into their 30s, 40s, maybe.
40s,
Because I know there's a lot of studies around this generation has kind of the lowest amount of testosterone. I don't know if that's true or not, and what your thoughts are.
I think that is true. I think I've seen people talk about this study. I haven't looked at it myself, but yeah, I think test levels are just generally dropping.
Why do you think that is?
I think it is a combination of poor diet. I think the main thing's poor diet.
Yeah.
Right. I
Do you not think it's any external factors or anything? Like, 'cause I know people say it's a lot of external factors. What?
like radiation.
Yeah,
and
like
all
stuff
the
like
Wi-Fi
that.
shit. Maybe, but
Yeah.
from what I can gather, I just think our diets are worse. We're
Yeah.
less active as well.
Do you think that's because of what they're pushing in front of us as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's like if you look at the culture now, and a lot of clients I train, they're just sitting behind a desk, right? The whole time.
Our lifestyles got worse, right? I
Sitting
think
in
back in the day,
cars,
everyone was walking around and active jobs.
Even going for a tutty,
yeah.
Back in the day, you need to get in the full
Yeah,
squat
I mean,
position.
squat. I don't even know if I could do that.
Yeah,
now.
honestly, me, I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that should be something that we should all be able to do.
Yeah, it's
right?
true.
It's a normal human movement, but because we've made the toilet, because we sit in chairs,
Yeah.
because we drive cars, we never have to get into a deep squat. So we just can't do it anymore.
It sounds stupid, but even when you think about that from going to the toilet perspective and how that's evolved over time, and when they have this saying that comfort is the biggest
Killer,
biggest killer in life is being too comfortable, and even when you refer that to going to the toilet is true because our bodies over time will become used to it and we'll stop being able to do the active things like squat down like we used to do back in the day.
Like my nanny, she's 80, no, she's 76 or something like that. She can pop down in the full squat. You know when she's making roti and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I'm like, wow, you're like old lady, but because obviously they done it from day one.
Yeah.
I get my son, he's 6 years old.
Yeah.
I get him to, no, 7 now. I get him to pop in that squat. Like, he could hold it for solid like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And with my daughter, I make sure they do that.
Yeah.
Because these little things I've learned growing up.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, my kids need to be able to do these things. These basic things that even I can't do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because of the Western world, the way we are, a lot of the comforts, and that's again going back to the testosterone thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just like our lifestyles. We're less active. We are eating more high calorie foods that are causing us to gain a lot of body fat. We're drinking a lot more alcohol that kills testosterone. So there's a number of combination
Different
of
factors.
but
TRT then, would you say that's the same as steroids?
no. So TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, is so as blokes, women have testosterone as well,
Yeah.
But as blokes, that's like our male hormone, right? And at the age of 40, around then, for most blokes, it's gonna start dipping quite fast.
Yeah.
Right? If you have low test levels, you'll end up having less energy, less sex drive. You're not gonna be able to sleep as well. There's a lot of bad knock-on effects. You can start putting on body fat faster, and now if you're in a position where you're putting on body fat a lot faster, you can get diabetes, all this and that, right? It's going to snowball. So if you're around 40 years old, I would say get your test levels checked. If they are low, try to bring them up naturally first.
Yeah.
Right. Get your sleep right. There's a few like natural supplements like ashwagandha you can take. There's a few other things you can take. But if you've tried to do it naturally and it's still very low, then yeah, definitely I would recommend getting on TRT because your life can really like change on that.
Really? So is it something that even say if you got into your 40s, 50s, you would consider if you...
Yeah, I think if my levels were low, I would like
you
personally
try naturally to get it first.
For sure. Personally, I wouldn't like to do it because I'm always like, I don't want to rely on something external.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, if I come to a point where I knew it was really low and it was actually affecting me, because some people have low testosterone and they're fine. Like you get some guys who are really in good shape, but they've got low testosterone, but they don't feel it. They feel fine. So then it's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're finding like your energy is super low and you're feeling like even like you can feel like depressed and all of that, and this is why I think a lot of men have midlife crisis. I don't think it's because of, there's probably other factors, but I think a big part is low test levels, and they're thinking, I don't feel good, And what do they do? They go buy a Ferrari to feel better. Or they go and cheat on their missus to get a rush and it happens a lot. And people aren't aware that it could literally just be you're missing that something. That something is you've got low test levels. So
I bet not many people know about that, right?
Yeah, so I'd say 100% get checked. If you do need, try naturally first. If that doesn't work, then probably need TRT prescribed by a doctor. And I think it's something like you take 1 injection a week, or maybe there's different forms. There's creams you can take. There's different things you can do. But I think it's something to consider once you're about 40 years old.
Okay. What about? I don't know. Do you know what? I'm using this podcast from such a selfish point of view just to up my own knowledge. What about creatine?
Creatine's wicked.
How much would that help? How much of a difference would it make? Is it just that 1-2%, would you say?
Yeah, so creatine monohydrate is one of the most widely researched supplements on the market. Very safe to use. Everyone basically should be taking it. It has not only like performance benefits, but even now they're saying cognitive and mental benefits. You just need 5 grams a day. So I take 5 grams in my protein smoothie every morning. You don't need to take it. We call it a cumulative supplement. So the way it works is you take it for like a few weeks and then it builds up in your system. And so you don't need to take it like before a workout or after a workout. It's just like when you need it, it's there. And what it will do when you're training is it helps you get out an extra rep or a couple of reps or go a bit heavier with the weight.